Okay, Tanner McNally doing a visual on 1684. We're going to start off over here in the entryway. You can see a true wood, T5 siding, and then match it soffit, matching soffit and fascia. You can see some pretty solid wear on the inside edge of this fascia right here. This fascia is going to be lap siding, unfortunately, so it's going to be hard to run anything thicker because of the drip edge. I'll explain that more once we get into profile view. But same fascia wear right here. Sidings in okay shape over here in this area. It's looking pretty good, actually. This is going to be true wood T5 siding as well. Got some soft vents and some permanent track lighting. You're going to see the trim up against the stonework. That's in okay shape. You really need to have a standoff in these areas. There really needs to be a separation in between the trim or siding and the metal flashing above brickwork or stonework. Code's an inch. I really want to make sure we see that, or else we're going to see this waterlogging, both from the top and from the bottom on this specific section. Got a little bit of wear around the light blocks, everything like that. I'll pause for a second as we look up here. So up here at the top of the screen, we're going to see, the siding coming in, a freeze board, the soffit, and then the fascia up above it. Let me see if I can move the camera up. Okay, I got the camera moved up. So if you see up here, we can see the fascia and the drip edge above that. So the problem with the current system is the thickness of your existing fascia and the metal drip edge up above it. So in order to run Hardy only sells, it's called 4/4, but it's actually nominally 3/4 inch thick fascia. And in order to get that into the gap in between from removing the existing fascia and slowing it up in there, you're going to wrinkle your drip edge around the entire house. And that's that metal piece right here that I'm touching. So for looking at fascia options, I would recommend going away from Hardy just because of the thickness we have available to install fascia in. I'm kind of looking around here. It's just going to be, if we pull it out and replace it, it's just going to be not the world's prettiest thing. Over here on the siding itself, we're showing some wear. We can see, just a little bit of bubbling, and that's what you're going to get out of any kind of masonite or hardboard product. It's just going to, trap some condensation. It's made of a wood pulp, not a composite wood or a wood chip product or cement fiber product. Anything that's kind of, any of the newer, more modern products are not going to have the same problem. I know they still sell true wood, but anything above true wood level quantity. Down here on this bottom edge, we got a little bit of wear as well. All these wires right here, it would be awesome to figure out what is live and what isn't. Pulling back right here. Because a lot of times we'll either hide these wires behind the siding system, so that way, while we're here anyways, we might as well tuck these back out of sight. Or this one right here looks a lot like a phone line to me, and it's probably inactive and can be removed. Same issue up top with the fascia. They did a good job of keeping this siding off the ground right there. Right here, we're seeing that same wear and expansion in the fascia we're kind of seeing throughout the home. There's a lot of really good products I can recommend for this area that are going to give you considerably longer lifespan than anything true wood or hardboard based. But like I said, with the thickness of this, I wouldn't recommend Hardy. And what you might see folks do is dialing back this. Is you could run a piece of Hardy lap siding up in this gap up here, but Hardy specifically in their install instructions recommends away from that. So, is it possible? Yes. Are you going to have a warranty on that individual piece of Hardy up there? No, right? Hardy specifically recommends against it. So if you wanted full Hardy all the way around, and you can also, let me pull back this and talk about it a little bit more. For the specific area of fascia. What you can also do, too, and what we've done before, is we've pulled it out and replaced it and just wrinkled up that drip edge a little bit. It's just not going to be perfect anymore. And we can also replace it as well, too. There's You know, it's home construction. There's 1,000 different answers to an individual problem. I just want to make sure you have all of the different options and all the different answers, because you know sometimes we'll come into these and wrinkle up that piece right there. And there's a project I'm thinking of specifically in Star, Idaho right now that was, you know, we told him this exact same thing, that it's going to wrinkle the drip edge of the top right there. He was totally fine with it, and then afterwards he ended up paying us to replace the fascia, and I felt super bad about that whole, or not the fascia, the drip edge around the house, and I felt super bad about that whole situation because I should have done a better job of educating him how wrinkled up this bottom edge of the drip edge is going to be. Cruise around the house, everything else is looking good. For all these lights right here, like the outside edge of this sconce, there's a couple different solutions. We're going to have all these sconces off anyways, so if you wanted to update them, we can add new ones in for no cost. A lot of times homeowners will buy them because they have a specific one they have in mind, and we can just throw them in for you. Not a big deal, because we have to pull all these off, add a new light block around them, flash them, put flashing at the top of it, and at that point we can just throw in a new system or a new modern style. Conveniently, this area right here does have flashing across this door, which is kind of uncommon. Down here we've got areas that have been patched. Definitely some water issues in here. Right here we have the, I'll wait a second, see if you see it a little bit better. Right over here we have, the case of the door. We almost always pulled these off and add trim, so the trim would strike right on this line right here and then come out 3.5 inches versus just running the siding into it like this. That way the punctures around your doors and windows all match and looks cohesive versus some having thicker penetrations or thicker trim, some having thinner trim, just more aesthetically pleasing. We included painting these doors, these man doors as well, to match whatever siding system you want to do. Some people do accent colors for these, some people do body siding. That one's kind of just up to whatever you're looking for. Over here on this window, we can of course see zero flashing across the top, and I flashed it down below. The problem with the system is this flashing down below is behind the trim and behind the siding, but the problem with that is that all the water that comes down this wall is going to destroy this top piece of trim. And once this top piece of trim is, you know, thrashed, then you have to pay to replace it, color match, etc., etc. So we always install our Z metal across the top, backflash the underlayment, and then run our butyl tape back behind that. Here we can see a little bit of scuffing, nothing crazy. It's like a shingle almost. Everything else is looking pretty good. You can see over here, let me dial it back for a second too. Sorry, I keep rewinding on you. You can see this right here. These vertical trim boards you have throughout your house is a style of siding called the Boise batten. It's specific to this region, and what it is they ran full lengths of boards on either side of these sections. And when you have these full lengths of boards, they didn't want to go through and stagger out these or throw in H clips at the top of it. So they just ended all their seams right here and ran a straight piece of trim up and down. We never do any Boise battens with any of our installs just because, in our opinion, it's a subpar installation system, and because you create a tear, a vertical line going up and down the siding system right there, which creates the opportunities for water infiltration, all that kind of systems. And then you're relying on caulking versus actual mechanical flashing, like metal flashing behind the laps of the siding, which doesn't create a maintenance item for the homeowner as well. Cruising through, everything else is looking pretty good. Little gable vent up there. I'm going to keep, pausing you all the time. So right here we have a gable vent. These gable vents, their job is to ventilate an attic space. So what I'd have you take a chance to look at the information for is attic ventilation systems. So if you have soffit vents, gable vents, and ridge vents, you create a system where it's something called vent competition. So what's going to happen is you're going to, instead of intaking air at your soffit vents way down on the eave over here somewhere, you're going to intake air out of these gable vents right here and exhaust it up out of the ridge. The problem with this is you're going to be shortcutting all of the venting down here in your soffit, and you'll be shooting through right here. The analogy I always use with folks is it's kind of like drinking through a cracked straw. You're never going to be pulling the right amount of air because you're trying to, I mean, this is the crack in the straw right now, right? The straw should be pulling from the soffit vents down here and pulling up and exhausting out the ridge vents, which are the black metal vents you have at the ridge of your home. You got a crack in the system right here. So we would definitely want to seal those gable vents up. That would be super important. I always recommend, taking some time doing some research on this because there's a lot of really good information out on the downsides of gable vents and ventilation systems when installed with a ridge vent and soffit vent system. Everything else is looking pretty good over here. I mean, we just got bad trim. We've seen siding systems in a lot worse shape than this, so it's not like this is something you have to panic about and get done right away. There's nothing on the home that I'm seeing that's really, really concerning me. It's looking clear down there. Same fascia systems we talked about before. Trim right there is just kind of popping. And that's the problem. Like I said with Truewood, there's a lot of homes in Boise done with it, and a lot of them are showing the same issues. That vent down there was a vent for your crawl space. Nothing to worry about. There we go. There's some actual water damage, more aggressive water damage at least. That's just from a sprinkler or something along those lines, or water building up on that concrete right there from either a lack of gutters or something along those lines missing above it and splashing back. Here we've got a little return wall. I'm sure that's in really rough shape. It's a good time to bring up too. On return walls, we always run our siding 1.5 inches off the roof deck. That means that there's going to be 1.5 inches space from the siding to the roof itself. This is code for every manufacturer of siding. However, we don't see a lot of Boise companies doing it on the original install of siding. So we just want to let folks know ahead of time, hey, there's going to be a gap here, and there wasn't a gap before. There's some good water damage on this one. Of course, really zooming in on it so you can really see it well. But that's all really stacking up. It's interesting it's just in that area right there, just water catching. Probably right out of that vent on that window. Down here, there was another Boise batten that we just passed, those vertical lines running up and down. Same gable vent up there, another Boise batten right here, and another one right there on the wall. Once you see these, it's going to be hard to unsee them just because they're all over the place. And they're these vertical lines where the installer's like, well, we'll just run full boards all the way up the wall. Sectional pieces. Another little crawl space vent right there. These permanent track lights over here. These aren't too difficult to work around. We'll work around them on most projects nowadays. This curved piece of trim up here, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. We'll see if Riley comes up to it. Same flashing problem right there. Oops, if I could pause. Man, that was not quick enough. Go back a little bit and see if I can grab it. Okay, there we go. So for this curved piece of trim, there's a couple different ways to do it. My favorite way is to run a full sheet and get rid of these seams right here. So we'll run a full sheet stacked out. So we'll cut this out of a full stick of material, totally included, nothing to worry about on that side. I just think it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than cutting them out of these sections where you can kind of see where they pieced it out of multiple boards. And then your grain pattern matches, because it always kind of bothers me when you have certain grain patterns going certain directions and other pieces going other directions. It's like they should all match the direction they're supposed to be going, if that makes sense. Else is looking good. Okay, that's it. Tanner McNally signing off. Thank you.